Well, a week's a long time in Leicester fans' lives. This time last Monday, we were here debating, are we going to beat Palace? Could we then go on to beat Fulham? We wanted at least 4 points, I think most of us last Monday. A lot of us were dreaming about 6 points, but some of us thought 3 would be like maybe 2 points from 2 draws. But as it turns out, it's 2 defeats. So there is a heck of a lot to talk about. We want your views live in the next 30 minutes. Please get your comments in. If you want to join in on camera, I've sent the link out there and I'll share it again very, very shortly. It is now 7 defeats on the spin for Leicester. And I guess I hate to even ask this question, but the fans, when Ruud made those subs on Saturday, many fans were singing, "You don't know what you're doing." To be fair, I was shocked to hear, I was thinking it, but I was shocked to hear that many fans join in and sing it. Does Ruud know what he is doing, or is he out of his depth? There's still the middle of the January transfer window. We've avoided PSR for now. So we've got money. Who do we need to sign in January? Where was the new defender on Saturday? How can you sign him on a Wednesday and he's not available on a Saturday? Has anybody got a mess? Listen, Spurs are in a mess. Can we win? And of course, we'll want your score predictions for that. I don't know what it could be on Sunday at Spurs. But let's look back, first of all, through everything that happened to the weekend. So please get your views in, get your comments in, and join us for the next 30 minutes.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.
Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. My name's Phil. If you're watching this live as ever, we get as many comments on screen in the next half hour, and as many people who click on the video come in and let us know what they think. Don't forget, as ever, you can follow us at Leicester Fan TV at whatever socials you are. But let's get as many comments in before we get somebody in on camera. Jack, watching on YouTube, says we need to get Ruud out. Do you agree with Jack? Are you already there? I think I'd say it's a bit early, but 7 games on the spin, I don't know. He says he's not the man for a relegation battle. Get Sean Dyche, give us half a chance of staying up. Ruud gives us 0 chance. Clueless, no experience, out of his depth. Ridiculous appointment. Do you agree with what Jack's saying there? Alex, good evening. Andy, good evening. Craig says we won't get 4 points for the rest of the season. We've got 4 out of the last 10 games since Cooper's gone. 30 points available. We've picked up 4. How's that working out for us, sacking Cooper? I don't know. Do we want to even go there? Good evening, Richie. Hope you're well. Get behind Van Nistelrooy. Ruud. Van Nistelrooy. It's not his fault. It's the LCFC board's fault. Richie, again, probably the loudest chanting on Saturday, which I wasn't particularly in favour of at all, was against Rudkin. I heard stuff against Susan Whelan. I heard stuff sack the board. It makes it all, as Reed is titled this one, a toxic atmosphere at the ground. It was that. It's a strange one. Tony says Ruud's well out of his depth. Michael says no, he doesn't know. I think that's responding to my question. Does Ruud know what he's doing? Listen, he played at the highest level for Man U and Real Madrid, of course, but that's playing at the top bits. You know, a bad day at the office when you play for those sorts of teams was. I know Man United are struggling this year, but when Ruud was there, bad day at the office was not winning 3-0 somewhere. Same for Real Madrid. He's just not had to deal with this as a player. He obviously is a forward as well. He keeps picking the same defence. I mean, when we saw the team on Saturday before we went into the game, we went, well, nothing's changed, so why would the result be any different in there? Wayne, good evening. Hope you're well. Matt says, watching on Facebook, it was a gamble in there. Dorco says Donald Trump wouldn't save us from relegation. You never know. Patrick says, good evening, Patrick. Pep in charge and Slot as number 2 will not keep this lot up. We're done. Because that's the other side of the debate, like Patrick's saying there, is, listen, does Ruud know what he's doing? Do the players give a flying monkeys? I don't know. On Saturday, did they care that much? There was a lot of shrugs and of the shoulders. Tony says, too passive gets you nowhere in there. Ryan says, best is too slow. Simon says, King Power, not a fun place to be at the moment. but some of the songs coming from Union FS is not helping things. Listen, just let's give Union FS some praise. They did that food bank before the game. Well done to everybody at Union FS, and well done to them generally. They tried to get the atmosphere going, but some of the chanting, I'm like, I don't think it helps on the pitch at all while we're trying to get out of this. Danny says it's all gone wrong since Bitch Eyes left us. Simon says, why are we not playing 5 at the back when we're leaking goals? Like I said, Simon, I couldn't agree with you more in the fact that I would play 5, because if we go to Spurs and to play the same back 4, even if you change JJ for this new fullback and you keep the same, you're just asking for the same again, aren't we? Andy says we don't have the players to survive in this league. Do you agree with Andy? But Andy, we're in the middle of a transfer window. We need to go and buy somebody, but it ain't easy. It needs to be loans. I know somebody's asked earlier about Cannon. Looks like he's going. Where's Edouard as well? He doesn't even make the bench. The councillor, good evening, sir, says it's not Rude's fault. It is one that he's inherited. I agree and I disagree with that, to be fair with you. He keeps picking the same sort of formation. We're playing this passive football, councillor, sir, and I just think keep doing the same stuff. You're going to keep getting the results. Jason said it's been a mess since we won the championship. Enzo jumping ship. Cooper was never going to work out, and Rude was a panic appointment. I think if Rude hadn't had those 4 games for Man United right at the right moment, he wouldn't have even been considered. I think he would have been left out of it. But it's going to be interesting. Lee says the defence is championship level in there. Do you agree with Lee? Gary says, if you sack Rude, who says the next manager will do as well with the players? Want it for a time to rebuild? Gary, I hear what Gary's saying, because it has to come from the players, this. Because people say, oh, the fans, blah, blah, blah. But we were all stood there and we were all singing in that first half, that first 20, 30 minutes. So I felt like the fans were doing their bit. It's got to come from the players on the pitch. Aggie says, and I agree with him, we're just too easy to play against. I'm going to get Reedy in now. I know Nick and Clibo have joined on the video link as well. I'm just going to share that for you again. Reedy, good evening to you.
Good evening. I've not spoke to you since the game, haven't I? So
no, Reedy. Normally, me and Reedy go in the same car to and from the match. So by the time I get home, I'm like literally pushing Reedy out of the car. I can't take another moment of his dribble. I'm only kidding, Reedy. You know I love you. But I don't know, Reedy, what your take was of Saturday.
Firstly, I admit the performance was nowhere near the level we have been the last few weeks, in my opinion. I'm not going to blame Rude for this situation we're in right now. First of all, we've had countless games, which again, I know every game in the Premier League is hard, but if you've got the likes of Man City, Liverpool, Newcastle and Villa all in a matter of 5 games, yes, the Wolves game was abysmal as well, but again, if I've asked you before we even got into them games, how many points we would have probably got, you probably would have said 0 anyway. These last 2 games, yes.
It is
these last 2 games have now. Games. Yeah, like I said, these games now have been the ones where we
let you
be
off when you said about Man City and Liverpool before. And Newcastle,
yes.
They are good games, you're quite right. But the Palace and Wolves game were 2 of the games we had to win, and the Fulham game, a bit like when we beat Bournemouth, was there to have a go at.
I think if I'm totally honest, and this is only my opinion, again, I see a lot of people's opinions saying like, oh, Rude's got to go and whatnot. I feel like Rude right now, yes, the performance wasn't great against Fulham, but I think he's doing everything he can with what he's got. I think if he had the likes of Ricardo Pereira, Wilfred Ndidi, Fatawu back, I think this team could not easily stay in the league, but I think we've got every chance in staying in the league with what we have.
But really, I agree. You are right in saying that.
I think he's doing whatever he can with what he's got. I just don't think what he's got now. Like, I won't say free pass. I'm just saying what he's got for me now.
Because you're saying he's not got those players. So what do you expect?
In a way, yes, but in a way, I still think he's doing on the pitch. I still think he's showing that
the crowd can be good. Really, the crowd sang to Rude. Does Rude know? Do you know what you're doing? I was amazed when I heard it. I wasn't expecting it. Were you?
I didn't sing it. No, I wasn't expecting it.
I didn't either. But I would say 60 to 70% of the crowd did sing it.
I think it was more. If I'm totally honest, I don't think it was like solely at Rude. I think it was more because of that one sub, which was like, wait, what
Was that
on earth
rude?
was not like I'm trying to say it in a way. It was at Rude, but not for the way the context you're saying is. Does he know what he's doing as a manager? I'm saying, does he know what he was doing about that one sub? That was the case. It was about that one sub. Like, yes, it was the very much wrong thing to do. He should have been on the pitch. Someone like AU should have been taken off, or Mabadidi, because both of them were poor against Fulham. But I don't know, because right now, like you said, the transfer window is open. If you want to strengthen this team with the way we have been playing, and yes, there has been a few games since Rude's been in that hasn't been the performances we've been seeing, but you've got to start buying players. You've got 10 days left to go in the window. You've got to be doing something with it. This one player is not going to help us fully. Yes, he might be an improvement, but it's not going to change us the way how we win games. So this window now is for us to build, because otherwise, honestly, I even said to you, that I thought the team was good enough to stay up in the league. But that, in my opinion, that is with likes of Wilfred and Didi, Mads Hermansen, Fatu. Now it looks like bare bones that if you've got to bring someone on the pitch, it's going to be like a player that's never going to be a game changer, like Bobby Reed or someone like that. We've just not got a team now where wholeheartedly you're gonna win a game without some impact.
Okay, before we add Nick and Clibbo in, here's a question for you. Mark says Rude was the wrong choice. He was a headline appointment in there. Phil says, how many games has Rude got to save his CV in there? It was a crazy, it was Rude, and it was a crazy substitution in there. I seem to be having an argument or saying someone on the sideline during the match. Is there something going on with him at the moment? Well, Gary, I don't know, but there was a lot of Leicester fans didn't like Ayu's post-match against Palace, where he was with all the Palace fans, and apparently I saw that bit, but apparently went up to the Palace fans and was doing like "love you" types of pointing to the heart and shirty type.
Well,
of
he
stuff,
kind of has. He was there for a while, wasn't he? So he obviously has a bit of a connection with them. I don't get me wrong, probably wrong time to do it, but when you're in the changing rooms, fair enough, but not on the pitch. But yeah, like I say, the people saying about we shouldn't have appointed Rude. I think the biggest reason why we wanted Rude in instead of the likes of Moyes or something like that is because we wanted to go back to the more possession-based football. I know you don't like it. I know other people don't like it in the way we play it, but
it doesn't work.
Since Enzo,
It doesn't work, really.
No, I know. Well, I think the performances are there. We just haven't got the players to do it. That is the problem for me. That's the reason why I've
just seen that performance against Fulham and Palace where there was no performances.
I think, if I'm totally honest, I think we probably were the better team overall against Palace, but against Fulham, definitely not.
First 45 minutes they were poor, and therefore we look better.
I think we were better in the second half in the second part, not the first part. But again, overall, we still lost the game, and that's the difference. They have a 20-minute spell and they score 2 goals, and it kills us. That is the difference between us having 45 minutes of 10 shots on target or 10 chances and you don't put any of them away. That is the difference for me between winning and losing games.
Yeah,
we're not finishing the chances we get.
Really, you're right. It's football, like rule 1, like score goals, and rule 2 is don't let any in. I'm going to add Nick in at this stage. Nick, Clibbo, I'll get you in very, very shortly. Please hang on. Nick, again, I don't know what you're going to say. So just what's your thoughts on anything to do with Leicester? It's your platform to speak.
Well, no, I literally was going to go back to what you were talking about a couple of minutes ago when you were saying you don't know what you're doing. I was in SK1 with the Union FS lads and stuff with the singing. I was singing "You Don't Know What You're Doing," but mine wasn't necessarily aimed at Rude. Mine was aimed at the board and all the big wigs that are in the ivory towers that have got us in this mess that we're in the first place. Rude is now the 4th manager who's effectively been lied to say we've got stuff we can do in the windows. Nothing has happened. It's happened with Rude, it's happened with Cooper, it happened with Rodgers, and it happened with Marasca. Because if you remember, this time last year, we were trying to get that Sensei defender in from Inter Milan, and it never happened. Something has to change. For me, The season's the right
When
off.
Rude came in, he even said he had speaks about it, and he said that he was clear on what was happening. So there's if we don't bring anyone in the next 10 days, then
Read it. We're screwed, mate. We are. This is worse, really, than what it was under Rodgers 18 months ago for me. There is no fight in it at all.
Here's
Personally, I would get championship players in that can do a job for next season because we are going down to the championship before we get done with an embargo and we can't sign anybody in the summer because the EFL will have the knives out.
a few comments, and then I want to ask you both a question from Aggie. Terry says, what goes on at half-time? Second game running, we've been poor in the second half. I think what happens at half-time, Terry, is the other team's managers look at the game and make changes. And that happened in both games. So Palace and Fulham came out with changes. They made substitutions. They changed formations. And that's called being a manager. Lee Veazey says, at one point we had a free kick in a dangerous position, but we only had 4 players in the box for it and 7 of theirs defending in there. Alex says, why are we trying to sell Cannon? We'll come on to that in a minute. Mark says, when you start to list the mistakes made on and off the pitch, it's very long, mostly made since Vichai sadly passed in there.
I will say there though is Rude. We can't again. I'm not saying it's not Rude's fault at all, but you can't blame Rude's. You can't blame Rude on people missing chances, people making errors on the pitch. Like that is down to players.
I'll ask this to you, Nick, first, and then Reedy. But I want both your honest opinions on it because, as I said before, I am in no shape or form was I a Cooper lover. I wasn't his fanboy at all, but I wanted to see him. I thought he deserved a few more games, and we got rid of him. My point was as well with Cooper is we sacked him, and then he did have 4 or 5, 6 tough games. So you might as well let Cooper have the tough games rather than give it to a new manager. But this is my question, Nick. It's Aggie's question. How come, Nick, when Cooper was here, it was all his fault, but now we have Ruud van Nistelrooy, it's the squad's not good enough and it's the board's fault? Because that's my honest, I agree with what Aggie's asking that question. I don't understand it.
Like I said to you, I stuck up for Cooper as long as I could, but like I just said not long ago, not one of the managers of the last 4 have been backed by the board and the club. We haven't been backed. Now, I feel sorry for Cooper. I've said that numerous times. He was always up against it with his Forest connections and stuff like that with our fan base. He wasn't even the first choice of mine anyway. I wanted David Moyes in the summer. We could have got him. Look what he's doing at Everton now. That could have been us. And we probably would have been in this position in the first place because Moyes is, A, he's got a backbone, and B, he would have kicked these players up the backside and wouldn't accept performances we've been given, like Wolves, Fulham, Palace.
But Nick, clearly Potter or Moyes were both available because both have ended up at clubs just a matter of weeks after we needing one of them. And we knew for most fans, Potter and then Moyes were the top 2 favourites. So both were available, Nick, but it's clear neither wanted to come to Leicester City.
No, but that's because that's down on the board, isn't it? Let's be fair. How many times have we gone for Potter in the last 3-4 years?
I think twice.
And how many times have we not backed by him? 3?
Twice.
4?
Reedy, then answer Aggie's question because it's from Aggie, but I feel exactly the same.
I think the first answer is I feel like he had much more of a choice in squad, and he still didn't play them. The likes of Fatawu, the likes of Winks, he was adamant on playing Skip a lot more. Don't get me wrong, he was playing a bit better when he was under Cooper, but like I say, he wasn't using certain players when he needed to. He weren't using Ricardo Pereira when it was available. He had what he had, and he still didn't use them for me, and that's another reason why we didn't win as many games with him as well. And the second reason is, go on. No, you go. You're first.
Cooper got 10 points out of 11 games. We've just got 4 points out of 10 games.
Well, and then I've always said to you, and I wasn't ever like, don't get me wrong, I wasn't a big fan of Cooper when he came in, but I still backed him as long as I could. But for me, the performances were just shocking anyway, even if he did win. So, and for me, it is more about performance, and it hopefully leads into more results. But I think
I'd rather beat Bournemouth 1-0 than
To be fair, Phil,
Luton,
our fan base is picky at the best of times. Let's not forget, and myself included in this, because I didn't like his style of football. We were moaning last season when we were doing well with Maresca.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It just takes one fan
We
to have
all
the
have a
mardies about
preference.
it.
We all have a
Exactly.
preference on how we want to play. I love possession-based football. I just prefer to see watching good football. And yes, it might not get into your results as much, but I'd prefer to see that than just sit back. And I get that. I get the point of this is what we need to do this year, and just get results. And it doesn't matter how we do it. But for me, I just prefer to see better football. But
And
I
I'm the
think
opposite. I can't
We
stand
just need
possession-based
results.
football. I despise it. I think it's
Yeah.
the most boring type of football going. I hate possession-based ticky-tacky rubbish. I prefer to play to your strengths and go out and try and get the result.
But I think
Yeah.
the biggest part about why we've not got results recently, and you agreed, we probably deserve to get a point at least against Man City. I think we deserve to get something against Villa because we made an error again from there. For me, it is down to the players, and I honestly feel like Rude, as much as there is things to blame for him, like the substitute on Saturday or other things like when he brings on subs too late and whatnot. The main thing is players just letting him down. The performances are there. You just mess it up and you concede goals from it. That's down to the players.
Agree the performances there. I'm going to add in Clibbo. Clibbo, thanks for being patient, mate.
That's okay. There's no worries.
Again, I don't know what you're going to say, so please, what's your take on Leicester City? What do you want to get your point across, Clibbo?
Well, I want to pick up on a couple of things that Nick said. One that I agree with, one that I don't agree with so much. The one I don't agree with is I think you compare this team to the Rodgers team. I think you can see that these guys are putting a bit of a shift in. There just isn't a quality there. You do.
I do agree with the passion's there. I think for me, they just under Rodgers, the passion was not there for me.
No,
I'm not saying it, but carry on, Clibbo.
They were all out. They were all ready to move on, weren't they? Now, the thing that I do agree with, I think we're chasing the dragon all the time. No matter which league we're in next season, we're gonna get a points deduction. And I think what Rude's trying to do, he's trying to build a way of playing, but he's sinking because of the squad quality. Now, I do agree with Nick in saying that we might as well, for what pittance we've got, even if we sell Cannon, we may as well try and buy something that's going to prosper in the Championship, because there's no way. I think I said this earlier. You've got more chance of Junior Lewis winning the Ballon d'Or than of staying up with this squad, and I think it's very difficult. And I don't necessarily blame the managers totally, but I'm bored of talking about Cooper. But like what Reedy said, the guy had a pre-season, which I watched all the games, and they were just dreadful. But I thought it's pre-season. He's then brought in players that really, at best, are Championship players, maybe bottom squad players in the Premier League. But we're relying on the likes of IU. We should be utilising him in his strengths when we need that particular type of player in a game. The minute I see someone like IU starting, it reeks of desperation to me. And although he has scored goals and he is, he's an asset in certain parts of a game against certain teams, we can't be relying on that. And I would go for it. I've written a team down here. I would go for a back five, and I'd try and drop JJ back in on the left as a centre back, because
I said exactly the same, Clibbo, on Saturday before the game. That's where I'd play JJ as a third centre back.
I don't think we've got any choice now. And I mean, I've lived in Holland for a little while, and they're very passionate people, and they can be quite stubborn. I'm just hoping that Rude's not going to be stubborn to the point where it's detrimental to his career now and in the future. Because I do actually like the guy, and I think he does. They know their football. They know their football. Whether he's the right fit for this circumstance, we'll never know. But I tell you what, I don't think many of the managers we approached wanted to come here. That's my personal opinion.
Nick, I'll go to Nick and then Reedy. But Nick, and again, we'll keep getting your comments in as many as you can. Richie says, get behind Rude. Scotty says, play two up top, we need goals. Again, a bit of an extension of that question to you, Nick, is if you keep picking pretty much the same team and trying to play the same passing, possession-based football against 18 other clubs who are higher than you in the league, generally logic tells you, Nick, you're going to lose because we're clearly not got the players to outpass and outpossession other teams. But Nick, what is he going to do for Spurs? He's just going to pick the same team again, if you ask me.
Well, this is it. I mean, will we see? Was it Woyo Koulibaly? Will we see him at the weekend? Probably not. It will possibly be the same team near enough for what we had against Fulham. Maybe Ayew comes out and Buonanotte comes in. But
Yeah,
I don't know. It just we've
I mean,
not got the
reading
players.
Clibo just said there about playing 5 at the back effectively. As soon as I saw the team on Saturday, I was like, well, that back four is the back four who's just letting, I don't know, is it 8 or 9 goals in the previous 4 or 5 games, and we haven't scored any. So the formation isn't creating any goals, and the defence is letting goals in. But if he picks a combination of a back four with Vestergaard and Fies, or Vestergaard and Cody, or Cody and Fies, and then unless this right back's a miracle, it's going to be the same again against Spurs, isn't it, Reedy? Or do you just keep going? You keep knocking your head against the wall.
Well, all I'll say is, what other option have you got? Like,
Well,
yes, you've got now you've got a right back in.
Play 3 at the back.
No, I get the point of the change, and I think I would want to maybe see a bit of a difference in that. Maybe try it, but again, I'm gonna stick to my guns and say, other than maybe the Wolves game and the Fulham game, I think the performances have been there and shown that we can win a game. But the ones that we have shown that we can play in them, we've decided to mess up and give goals away freely. Like, I think I don't see too much wrong with what we've been doing, other than the bigger mistakes from players. Like, and the only 2 games I can say that we never deserved anything from, for me, were the Fulham and Wolves. So I don't know. Again, like I said with the team, I don't think you've got much option. The only thing you can change in the back line is the right back, because we've got no other players, unless you want to use a Coley.
And that's really, as ever, Reedy's view is absolutely entitled, because that's his view. I haven't seen as good performances as Reedy's seen. Clibo, I've got no idea what your take on it. I thought we were okay against Man City that day. Liverpool first half was okay, but you know, Palace,
I mean,
that's it. The rest has been pretty average to poor.
I mean, I don't think it's a sort of a binary thing where you either like possession-based football or you like, counter-attack, defend. I'm kind of a hybrid of the two, of sort of Nick and Reedy. But I do think that you're right what you're saying. A good big un will always beat a good little un. And I do feel like we're kind of the problem. I think the problem is with modern managers. I'll say the problem. I think one of the things that modern managers do is they have a system and they stick with it rigidly, no matter what. Well, I think we've seen this with, but again, if you're playing at the top end of the Premier League and it's working, there's no need to change it. And a lot of the top managers are in top jobs where they don't need to be changing it. Maybe make subtle tweaks during a match. But in terms of changing systems, what we've also got to understand is that over the last 4 years, the amount of different systems that this team are having to get used to playing, and they know they're professional footballers and should be able to adapt. But I think it was the thing that Enzo left the players was this lasting kind of, it was because it was so regimented. It's hard to uninstinct it, if you know what I'm saying. And I think for the first part of this season, that was really evident, because passes were going to places where a player would instinctively pass the ball, and then you've got the confusion of people who were playing Cooper's system not having that instinct anymore, trying to, and I think that there was a massive confusion. And I think Cooper suffered hugely because of that. Whether that's his fault or not, I'm not going to say that, but I think were very obvious problems there, and I could start to see the writing on the wall for him, and potentially us if it went on for much longer. And then, of course, you had players in-house protesting to people at the top of the club about it, which I think ultimately got Cooper the sack. I was never a fan of Cooper. I didn't think it was a good signing because of the contrast between his style and Enzo's. And I think, without saying I was right, I think part of what I'm saying is the reason that he's not here anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I didn't really. Have you watched the goals back from Saturday for Fulham? I'm sure you have.
I actually haven't. No, I was kind of a bit frustrated after that game because I didn't want to look at
I can't bear it.
I mean, no, I can't clip out, Nick. It was again the defending. People have used words in some of the comments like it's schoolboy defending, or they look like lost sheep at times. Nick, back there.
Are you blaming?
To be fair, though, Phil, you can't blame Ruud for that because let's be fair, we've been making stupid defensive mistakes all season. Whether it was Cody's madness at Palace away, whether it was fast heading the ball up in the air, and what happened there after that, we scored.
JJ at Villa.
Yeah, exactly. Doing his trying to do his step overs and God knows what, thinking he's a winger. It's just.
But that's the problem. Then after you've got them sort of players are making mistakes, it's like you take JJ out and then Winks to make the errors against QPR. I know it's a championship side, but if you take one error out, you have someone else doing the error.
Well, Winks had his head in his hand once he'd done it because he knew he'd ballsed up.
But it's error after error. That
to
me is the biggest reason why we're not getting points right now.
100%.
Against City, there's every chance we get yeah, no, I get that. I get that. But under Cooper, and this is why it was more Cooper's fault. If JJ's messing up, you got Ricardo Pereira, but he still weren't playing him. You had someone like Ndidi in the 10 role, like when you could have him in that defensive role. Like he played with Ndidi in that 10 role for the majority of the time he was in charge. And for me, that was one of the biggest errors.
On the Ricardo side of things, though, really, to be fair, he came in.
Oh no, he wasn't great.
In the cup games, and he was shocking. He's not been right since his first injury. He's not been the same Ricky
get that,
P.
but he had the choice, and from the season
he's got
before,
the option.
Yeah, the season before he played every game.
He's got the option of bringing in Hamza and playing him as right back. And let's be fair,
that's part of my frustration when I saw Saturday's team. I was like, for a start, where's the new boy? And the second thing is, well, he's just stuck with the same setup again.
Hamza wasn't even on the bench on Saturday.
But again, who else is there to put in? Like, if you were to take Mavadidi out, who do you replace him with? It's either McAteer or put AU on that side and put Buonanotte. I know, I get it. But then
that's what a manager has to do.
There's kind of options because you either have AU in for Buonanotte or you have Mavadidi in for AU. Like, it's always swaps around, but they're still the same sort of team. There's only one swap here or there.
I'll ask this question to Clibo because I take that on board. But I wonder, Clibo, does Ruud pick the team or does do the players pick the team? Because I'm wondering if the tail is still wagging the dog.
No, I mean, like I said, I know quite a lot of Dutch people who spending a lot of time out there, and they're not like us. They're very strong-willed, and there's no way, in my opinion, and particularly the level that he's played at, he would allow that. But with not even Vardy, as far as I'm concerned, so I don't even think that's an issue. One of the things that you've got to look at in the squad, and a lot of people will say a Premier League player is someone of this amount of skill. Well, I never judge it on that. And I think at top end of any sport, what makes people really good is not necessarily how skillful they are. It's how consistent they are and how switched on they are for the amount of time that they're playing a game. And it's clear that we have talented players who could potentially play in the Premier League for a couple of 3 seasons. But what stops them becoming, what I would say, Premier League standard players consistently is the switching off, not having that level of concentration for the full 90 or the full 100 as it is these days. And I think that's what makes a Premier League team or squad and we have too many players in there that fall below that. I'm not saying it's their fault. It's just something that's inbuilt in people. Champions are not made that you are a champion or you're not. And unfortunately, we're competing against. If you have a look at, I know Villa have just turned it down, but if you look at West Ham, we're in a pool of teams. All right, they might have got away from us a little bit now, but other than a few days ago, West Ham were in that kind of echelon with us. They've just put a £57 million bid in for Duran. I mean, how can you possibly compete with that?
Yeah, it's difficult.
Again, though, they can do it because of their PSR, because they've got a bigger stadium than us. Which, let's be fair, we've had planning permission in for the best part of 2 years, and the board's not put anything through to get it sorted.
Listen, Clibo and Nick, I'm going to let you go because we've got to wrap the show up. But Elliot's been holding on. Elliot, are you all right to come in? He's giving me the thumbs up. Nick and Clibo, we'll see you again very, very soon. Thanks, chaps.
Keep the faith, lads.
Come on.
See you soon.
Bye.
Let's just quickly get Elliot in because he's clicked and he's been waiting. Good evening, Elliot. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, good. Sorry you're writing at the end, but thanks for clicking on. We welcome all fans. Let us know what's your views on Leicester.
I just want to know what's going on with the board. It seems to be that the writing's been on the wall since we've been relegated, and that we've signed that many players and given them stupid contracts, and we're right back to square one. And me and my dad have seen this for a while, and I mean, my dad's had many run-ins with Rudkin when Rudkin was at Leicestershire, County FA, and the words that he describes I can't use on this channel, but it's a case of what is going on. There's just no transparency on what is happening, and I think the players can see that, so it just seems like they're getting away with murder.
I think Elliot, a lot of fans at the game on Saturday were starting to ask similar questions. Transparency. What would you like to see happen, Elliot?
You want Top to come out and say, look, this is the situation that's going on, and from my point of view, it seems like he's more wrapped up in his polo and his horses than actually bothered about what's going on with the club. And that, Rudkin's made so many stupid signings and that so many bad managerial decisions since he's been the director of football. It just seems to be that he's got him wrapped around his little finger and he can do whatever he wants.
Like, I don't think it's all like totally down to Rudkin, but I think like that, like I say, you mentioned it at the start when we got relegated. There was a whole article out saying that we're going to investigate it, but who's going to investigate it? The man who's in charge of running the club in a way of in Rudkin. Like, what's he going to do? Mark his own paperwork? It is a bit of a shambles, and it's just a mess all over in Leicester, isn't it?
Elliot, listen, thanks so much for joining. I know you clicked in late. Click in earlier next week and come on, and we'll have a better chat with you.
Yeah, that's fine, mate.
Right, appreciate Elliot coming on. Thank you to Elliot. Thanks to Clibo. Thanks to Nick as well, and really thanks for all your comments and all your views. We haven't really touched on the Spurs game. You'll be doing a tactics talk this week, won't you, really, with Sam? Yes,
so we're doing that most likely Wednesday, or maybe even a bit later, maybe Friday. Sorry, Friday. Going into looking at that on Sunday. You know what? And I even said to you in the messages, there's as much as we've lost 7 in a row. If you want to go to a team that's absolutely crap in the bed at the moment, it's them. And the manager even said after the game, they said they've only got 11 fit players, so there's every chance you can get a result there. Here's something for you, Reedy. We'll end on this comment. Get them up the sand dunes. Do you know what that's about? No idea. No. If you're old like Keith, I mean, Keith, your photo, I reckon, is out of date. I think you're older than your profile photo, Keith. Because if you know what the sand dunes are, you're as old as me. And I totally agree. Get them up Bradgate Park. I'd get them back. The club still go down Beaver Drive. I think a bit of a reality check is needed. Just to let you, Reedy, and everybody who's not as old as me in, Jock Wallace, a Leicester manager who you should know about if you've got your history right, but you're looking blank at me, Reedy. One of the greatest ever Leicester managers, came from Glasgow Rangers and would take no nonsense from anybody.
probably wouldn't be. It was a proper old school Scottish manager. He took Leicester players to Wanlip near Syston, and they got loads of sand there because it's gravel pits, and he had them training, running up and down sand dunes in Wanlip in Syston. Horrible, really horrible. But you know what? It got them fit and it taught them how to do really well. And to be fair, that season we won, got promoted from the Championship. So I know what people are saying. We need a bit of grit back in there, if you ask me, Reedy. So get them up the sand dunes. You now know what that means, Reedy.
There you go.
There you go. Always here to learn. The councillor says the sand dunes are not Braggy. Exactly. You know where Braggy Park is, don't you, Reedy?
Yeah. Where the cup is.
Keith says his photos from 7 years ago. I think you're older than that, Keith. I'm only joking, mate. Thanks for that. Mark says they are pampered in that holiday complex. I don't know. If we were to, when did we move to Seagrove, Reedy?
I don't know when we did, but every signing that we announce, or every person we announce at the club, they're like, "Oh, amazing facilities." I'm like, that is literally the first thing they mention when they come to Leicester City. It just shows you. So,
well, why not? Excellent training facility. Excellent.
Danny Ward just walks in for 2 hours and walks back out. Like,
nice. Golf course. Polo sessions, water polo, whatever you want, mate. Just
and you don't have to, and they don't have to pay for it. They just get paid to go there.
No, it's great, isn't it? Anyway, Michael says he can't remember. It's an interesting one. When did we move to Seagrave? Does it coincide with what appears to be a bit of a downward spiral in fan connection to players? Or Reedy's Googling it now. It just feels like the club's got more disconnected since maybe we've gone to Seagrave. Beaver Drive, I was thought kept a bit of reality on where players were. They had to drive down terraced houses. They had to see how other people lived. They had fans waiting at the gates, and they had to sign things at Seagrave. There's none of that now. So
it says Seagrave is officially opened on December 2020.
Yeah,
so 4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously went on to win the FA Cup. Yeah, so anyway, Reedy, thanks for joining us. We'll see you later in the week.
See you Friday.
Thank you for Reedy. Thanks for everybody. Listen, we can't do this without you. We always love getting as many comments in. Thanks for everybody who's clicked on the link. If you're still watching this, thank you so much. If you are, if you can give us a like, if you can give us a share, if you can give us a follow, please do that. We're trying to bring you more and more fresh content every day, and we want more and more of you to come on. So thanks to everybody. We can't do this without your views. I'll see you next Monday. Maybe we're celebrating a Spurs win. Let's hope it's not 8 on the spin. I don't know where we go from here, to be fair. So look forward to seeing you all this week. Keep the faith. Try to.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.